So here is Yochanan, and hopefully we've talked about this enough times that you should understand that he is the likely legitimate high priest. Okay, we know that Caiaphas is definitely not the legitimate high priest. That became a sort of appointed, bought and paid for position. And that Yochanan, knowing his father also had been high priest previously as part of the rotations, that he is now being recognized. That's why in verse 5, it said that people were coming from all over to see him, not just because, as we would have been taught maybe in mainstream Christianity, because he had a charismatic personality and people were drawn to him and he had this powerful message about repentance. They were going to him because they recognized and respected him as the high priest. Don't think you've arrived. Don't think that somehow you're special and because of what you've done already, there's no more to do. Don't think that nobody can teach you anything because of where you've already reached. The key here is hypocrisy. We've talked about this, and actually it's appropriate going forward towards Passover and unleavened bread. What did we teach all last year during unleavened bread? In the teaching, Get Out the Leaven, that the leaven of the Pharisees is hypocrisy. That the leaven that we need to get out of our lives is hypocrisy, because that leads to sin. It leads to all of the problems. With forgiveness, let's understand, somehow Christianity or the world or culture has totally just messed this whole deal up in everybody's heads. Well, not everybody, a lot of people. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you have to then stay in the place that you had to forgive or the situation. Let your light so shine before men so that they see your good works and praise your Father who's in the heavens. Now notice he says this before we get to chapter 6, where he tells you not to be doing things to be seen by men. Remember, he's saying, let your light shine. In other words, don't hide walking this out. You are going to try to go and hunger and thirst and go after Torah, and you're going to go and try to keep it, and you're going to do it in front of men, and they're going to persecute you, and they're going to mock you, they're going to accuse you of things falsely, they're going to use all kinds of wicked words. He says, so don't think I came to just do away with all that. You're going to have to deal with this stuff. I didn't come to destroy the Torah of the prophets. People think, you know what they're thinking? I don't like all that Torah stuff. I don't want to have anybody tell me what I can eat and how I should, observe my days and other things like that. I don't like that. So I'm going to decide to interpret this in a way that allows me not to have to do that. It's a thinking process. That's all wrong. He says, I say to you, unless your Torah observance, your righteousness, and I'm going to get all kinds of people commenting on the YouTube saying, it doesn't say Torah observance there. Well, that's what righteousness is. If you haven't figured that out, then you need to go back and study. Righteousness is submission to Torah, the instructions and guidance from above, from Yahweh. So he didn't add to the Torah here. He's telling you that one line that says, don't commit adultery, there's a lot more to it. That one line that says, do not commit murder, there's a lot more to it. We also know this about things like do not steal. We're told what stealing can be. If you're working for an employer and you're stealing time by goofing off on the job instead of working, that's stealing. In other words, there's lots of ways you can steal beyond just taking something and walking away with it that doesn't belong to you. We talked about this all being about the mind and thinking of man, how it relates to authority. When you think that way, you're taking the authority upon yourself to decide how far the law actually goes or the depth of what it's actually saying. Does that make any sense? Okay, you are thinking, you are choosing to interpret. So it's not your authority, well, let me say that. It's not his authority, but your authority that's guiding. You're saying, I didn't kill him, I'm okay. The higher authority says, but you wanted to, you're not okay. We got to change the way we think about these things. We got to change the way, all the attachments of all of our mindsets to these things, because we've been indoctrinated and it's been drilled into us. Well, because I've heard some of you say it. Well, it's impossible to keep the Torah. Why? Yes, for you it's impossible, but not because it's impossible. but because a human being is trying to do it. And as a human being, you do not have a default desire to allow someone else to tell you what you can and can't do.